Hi everyone. I am recording this video tonight to go over the quiz that you folks recently took. I think probably, well, I know at least one of you was somewhat disappointed in the results of the quiz. But I wanted to talk, I wanted to frame the quiz for you a bit within my own thoughts on your performance in this class. And I wanted to go over the results with you. So I want to start by talking about, yes, as I mentioned in the instructions for the quiz, this quiz is not factoring into your final grade for this course, but it is meant to give you a sense of some of the things that you can be working on in your writing for this class. And it's just really small, simple things that could be flagged in something like a cover letter or an email that would make, that might make others judge you negatively. And that's really what I want to avoid. At the same time, though, I do want to remind you that communication is not always grammatical. I recognize this. Like effective communication isn't always grammatical. I don't know if you all remember these this website, the cheeseburger.com. Part of the joke was that these cats were, ungrammatical in their writing. But the fact of the matter is we all understood what they wanted in the memes. And, as a community, like, even though it was ungrammatical, it was effective in terms of communication. So that's the framework I want to give you for going over this quiz. And likewise, in our own class, mainly I want you guys just to dig into the text that we're reading and get some practice in writing. So none of this is the end all be all of, how you're being evaluated for the class. So let's get into it. Okay, so I can see from Blackboard that, all right, so we can go over this. Most people got this first question right, and identifying the error. A fragment, of course, is an incomplete sentence. A run-on with a comma splice is basically a run-on sentence that includes a comma. Like somehow the comma is being used in a way that it shouldn't be. Finally, a fused sentence is a run-on, so like too many independent clauses that doesn't have a comma. So this first one, we can, just by looking at it, we can see that there is a comma here that might be a culprit. So let's read it out loud, because often our ear is the best. If we don't want to diagram a sentence, it's often the best determinant of what is grammatical and what's not. So a name can be a way to find out personal information about another. For example, race, ethnicity, and religion are often revealed in a name. This comma right here, I wanted to pause here. And a pause would have been, should be a full stop. All right, so a name could be a way to find out personal information about another, period. For example, comma, ethnicity and religion are often revealed in a name. So, as most of you guessed, that is a comma splice. Now, okay, I want to go over the distinction between the optional answers. So you can see that the correct answer in this case was instead of a comma before, for example, it was a semicolon. I sent you guys the post from the oatmeal about when to use a semicolon. A semicolon only goes between independent clauses. So it should only go where you can have two complete sentences. So if you look down here at the third option you were given, a name can be a way to find out personal information about another, for example, race, ethnicity, and religion. This second half of the sentence there's no predicate, there's no verb. So it's not an independent clause. So you cannot use, or it's ungrammatical to use a semicolon there. So that's why that's not the right answer. But it looks, oh yeah, some of you picked that. So beware of the semicolon. It can only go between independent clauses. So let's look at the next one. Oh, I love this. So this one, can I just tell you, this example of student writing was taken from my first semester of teaching. It's a 20-year-old example, but I really liked the student. Like he just had a great personality at 8:30 in the morning. So we're including it. All right. So common that the phrase average Joe was created to stand for people who are just part of the crowd, people who are not unique among many. So there are a lot of subordinate clauses in here. So you can see in this very first part of the sentence, so common that there's no subject or verb there. This next part of the sentence, that the phrase average Joe was created to stand for people who are just part of the crowd. So if you just listen to that on its own, that's not an independent clause. That's also a dependent clause. So far, we don't have a subject. We don't have a predicate. And then this part of the sentence, people who are not unique amongst many, that phrase also does not have its own verb, but it is modifying crowd. So basically, we don't have a sentence here. It's a fragment. So we'll look at the possible corrections. Let's see. So the majority of you, oh yeah, here we go. Okay, so this was, the semicolon got most of you in trouble. So look, so here's what I'm looking at. The percent answered. 71% of you chose the phrase average Joe was created to stand for people who are just part of a crowd. People who are not unique among many. So you could see, you can't just, like, you would never say that people who are not unique among many is its own sentence. So that's why you can't use the semicolon. Instead, you have to use the comma, which 14% of you did. You see how it says correct here? That's what I'm working off of. Okay, next sentence. All right, supposedly my name means bitter flower in French, but I am neither bitter nor a flower. My name describes a type of flower, not the rose that is me. So here we go. Look, we've got a comma here. That signals possible trouble. So we have my name describes a type of flower. We can tell that we have name is the subject, describes is the predicate. That's an independent clause there. Now the question is, what about the first part of the sentence? Supposedly my name means bitter flower in French. Okay, so we've got my name is another subject, and then means is another predicate, and supposedly is just an adverb here. It's not making my name means bitter flower. It's not making that part of a dependent clause. And then she's got, but I am neither bitter nor a flower. So, right, all of this here, so this is mispunctuated. There should be a comma before the but, because that's one of the fanboys, the coordinating conjunctions that I described in the other video. And y'all, I'm very sorry about my crazy family. They're going nuts downstairs. So, but basically what has happened in this example here, in this first part of the example, is we've got a run-on, and because it includes a comma, it's called a comma splice. And then not the rows, that is me. Do you see this that here? This that, it subordinates the is me. So basically we just have not the rows. That is a possible subject. But the that here, we don't have a predicate. So as most of you, oh, I see. Most of you got this right. It's a comma splice and a fragment. I think initially I didn't have that calibrated correctly. I didn't have the correct answer. So some of you may have seen a bump up in your grade. Okay, so then now to get to the corrections. Oh, look how well you guys did. You got 92% of you got this right. So I guess for the one person maybe who got this wrong, what was the answer, you guys? Yeah, same problem. So the one person chose the semicolon one. And again, it's the same problem as before, that we can't use a semicolon, or it's ungrammatical to use a semicolon here, because not the rows, that is me, is a fragment. All right, going on. Question 7, by nightfall, the temperature dropped. So not only were we soaking wet, but cold as well, also turning my hair into a big frizzy mess. All right, the first sentence is perfectly fine. That's grammatical. But this also turning my hair into a big frizzy mess. Yeah, I don't know. So half of you guys answered this correctly. Well, maybe a little less than half. But this is really the issue. Also turning my hair into a big frizzy mess. That's turning my hair. So this is not this is I don't get too technical, but you can hear that also turning my hair into a big frizzy mess. You wouldn't write that in a paper necessarily. You wouldn't write that in a paper as like a single sentence. You need an actor in that sentence. Also, the humidity turned my hair into a big frizzy mess. That's a complete sentence. The ing here makes this not a good verb, because there's no helping verb. So anyway, so it's a fragment. Oh, look. Okay. So a little less than half of you got the correction right. By nightfall, the temperature drops, so not only we're soaking wet, but cold as well. Also, my hair was a big frizzy mess. Let's see where. Oh, yeah. Okay, the same problem here. It was a semicolon trick, but cold, I'm looking at the second answer. Not only cold, soaking wet. You can't have a sentence that says, but cold as well, turning my hair into a big frizzy mess. You'd have to say, we were cold as well. Not only were we soaking wet, semicolon. Oh, this is part of a grammatical structure that maybe I'll set up for. I'll look it up and do a proper introduction to it. But it's always not only, but also. Not only, ... comma, but also, ... So we'll look at that. But basically, this semicolon doesn't work because but cold as well is not a sentence. All right. Almost to the end. So here is this is a grammatically correct sentence, which most of you identified. And here is a good example of a semicolon. So Helen is patient, confident, and forgiving. That's one sentence. We've got Helen as the subject, is the predicate. And then we also have Jane is impulsive, insecure, and resentful. Again, independent clause. Jane is the subject, is the predicate. So it is perfectly appropriate to use the semicolon here. So you don't have to correct that one. And then the last one,